more than 4 feet of snow piled up, howling wind. There were drifts of snow that were 50 feet high. A report from the New York Times back then describes New York City as helpless in a tornado of wind and snow. It was the Great Blizzard of 1888, and by the time it ended, quote, every horse car and elevated railroad train had stopped running. Quote, the electric wires, telegraph and telephone were nearly all broken. Jordan Weissman of The Atlantic dug up this old newspaper drawing of what the storm was like 1888. And if you look at this old photo, you can see why the blizzard put out the lights. This was New York. Look, the electric wires strung overhead where the elements could knock them down. Hundreds of people died in that storm. An enormous number of buildings burned because fire departments couldn't reach them. When the snow finally melted, the runoff was so great that it created floods. The Great Blizzard of 1888 was a huge disaster. New York City historian Rick Burns reminded us about it last night, of how New York City responded to that long ago disaster. New York City then built the modern subway so the trains could keep running even in the elements. And they built a new electrical system, this time with the wires not overground but underground. Before the Great Blizzard in 1888, New York City had been fighting for years about whether to put the wires underground. But after the blizzard, the abstract political debate stopped and the innovation began. They had a problem that everybody could see: overhead wires vulnerable to storms. And they fixed that problem. They put the wires underground. The scale of the still unfolding disaster of this storm, of Sandy, is stunningly vast in terms of human misery and economic damage and how widespread it is. New York City alone is losing something like $200 million a day. Every day that the power stays out and the transportation system doesn't work. New York City has the 17th largest economy in the world. If New York City were a country, it'd be the 17th largest national economy in the world.